Welcome to Unfilter That Lens, the podcast where we explore the messy and awkward side of mental health. If you're here for the first time, thank you very much. Please stay. Don't go anywhere. We have come a long way as a family and we have experienced a number of challenges. We are a family of 5 and this podcast is a testimony to who we are and what we're about. And that is about love and acceptance. Today's podcast is all about my beautiful son. We are so glad to have him here today. His name is Tayden. And thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. We continue with our exploration into anxiety and mostly how people experience anxiety. And today we're talking especially about how Tayden has experienced anxiety. As one of my children, I told you before that all 3 of my children suffer with anxiety and they all have very different experiences with anxiety. So welcome, Tay.
Thank you.
Tay is 18 years old. For those of you who don't know, he is an incredible young kid with a mind that is geared towards psychology, which is an incredible thing for me because we talk a lot, we explore a lot, we read a lot. And him and I are pretty similar when it comes to solving conflict. And he's one of the people that I will usually ask for wisdom because he's wise beyond his years. So actually, I wanted to start off, say you've walked quite a road with mental health and it hasn't been the same road as most people. You've had a lot of different obstacles in your way. I wanted to ask you, when you were younger, I know we're diving straight in, but here we go.
Go for it.
So like when you were younger, as a little kid, can you now, looking back, pinpoint one of the first times that you felt anxious or that you had anxiety? Can you maybe pinpoint one of those times or what it was?
Yeah, I think back when I have this like very vivid memory of when I was like 2, I think. Maybe I was 3. And it was before we went to junior school and everything. And I was in my class and I had messed cake we were eating cake. It was someone's birthday. And I'd messed cake on my t-shirt.
Oh, no.
And I literally started panicking because I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody's going to think I'm so weird. Like I've just messed cake on my t-shirt. Like I'm literally so scared right now. I'm so embarrassed. I feel like that was maybe embarrassment, but I was still like, I was so conscious of like, everybody.
And if I can ask you, do you remember at that moment where you felt it in your body? Like where exactly did you feel the anxiety in your body as a little 2-year-old kid?
It was always my heart. It was always racing.
Okay.
Yeah, my heart was always racing.
I can resonate with that because as a kid, you would say to me, I'm sore here, and you would put your hand on your chest. And I think maybe that was your heart racing that felt physically painful for you, perhaps as a little kid, because what does a 2-year-old know about how to express anxiety, right?
I know.
So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
You've actually experienced more mental health than most kids. So if you could describe your journey with mental health in a few words, like give us a few ways that you would describe your mental health journey.
I don't know. I think that's quite a hard question.
Would you say it's evolving, changing?
Yeah, I feel like it's always changing now.
Yes.
I feel like it's very like I'm very open-minded now, and I'm very trusting of like the process of healing and everything like that. But I think maybe overall my journey was difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe I was sort of isolated.
Did you feel trapped in a way?
I did feel trapped. It was scary. Yeah, it was just
wow. Okay.
Like terrifying.
Like when you say terrifying, and how did you feel in your body? Was it this state of sort of nervousness, maybe shaking, heart palpitations? Was it shortness of breath? Like was your body very tense? Like what, if you can remember, like what were the things that you felt growing up that were consistent with anxiety?
Growing up, it was stomach aches.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, it was stomach aches,
Right.
and I always used to tell you, my belly button was sore.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
because the pain was like, it was right underneath my belly button for some reason. I don't know why, but it was always there.
Could have also been the umbilical hernia.
See, because I didn't have the umbilical hernia.
Yes.
But I know that it was anxiety because it still happens to me today.
Exactly.
And so that was that feeling of being like really overwhelmed, really anxious.
Yes.
And when I just couldn't handle like the situation that I was in.
Do you think like what I've just done now, like I've just realized what I did, which was what most parents do with kids, is that when the kid goes, it was right here, and the parent goes, oh, that's just probably, and I literally did just that.
No, see, because I thought, okay, yes, but I've thought about it, and I was like, the coincidence that it was actually also an umbilical hernia is quite funny.
Yeah.
Because I actually remember being like, my belly button is sore. We went to go get it checked. I had an umbilical hernia.
Yes.
So like, I know it was like a thing.
Yes, but the pain continued after. There was also pain after. But that's just very interesting, because what I just did is probably what most parents do. When their kids come to them and go like, oh, my chest is sore, oh, my stomach is sore, or it's like, oh my gosh, what have you eaten? Oh, it's probably just you ate this, or you ate that, or you drank that. Do you feel like most parents don't really clock on to the idea that perhaps it's something more than a stomach ache from eating something or drinking something? Or do you think that a lot of parents are quick to disregard that because, I mean, why should a child feel anxious? Or do you think that the psyche around that is now changing? The mentality around anxiety is now changing. And parents are getting more mindful of what their kids are experiencing. Like, what is your take from when you were growing up to now?
Yeah. Well, I think the idea that like pain in your body could be traced back to emotion is like a very foreign concept for parents. You know, especially when I was growing up, I didn't even know that was really a thing. But you did sort of know, because when I had a stomach ache, you would tell me to sort of step aside and take time to myself, and like, because you knew that I was sort of overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
So you did know that it was.
I picked up on it. Obviously,
picked up on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like it is a foreign concept to think about emotion being connected to pain in your body, but it is, right?
That's very interesting.
And so I think it's natural to ask, like, did you eat something, or did you what did you do today? Did you overwork, whatever. But I think it's also just to take into consideration mentality. To like ask physically what you've been up to, but also mentally, emotionally, how you've been feeling, and see what adds up.
So I remember, particularly as a young kid, you really used to struggle at parties. And I would often, within half an hour of being at the party, you would have a stomach ache. I remember I used to tell you to either jump on a trampoline, swing on a swing, almost to kind of reset your vestibular system, to try and get you to maybe just calm down a bit. What do you think triggered the anxiety, like at a party? Let's just talk to some parents out there who maybe have kids who are younger and are experiencing something similar, and parents are not quite sure what to do. So like for you, what was the thing that worked the most for you to actually cope with the anxiety, and what was it that triggered it at a party particularly?
Yeah. So usually what triggered it for me was the feeling of being like I was alone. I don't know. I was a very shy kid. For most shy people, it's like it's very difficult to be around a lot of people,
right? And loud,
kids
and
kids screaming, everything. It's like it's really
chaotic
rough.
and overwhelming.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
And so when you really shy, it's difficult to like navigate that, and so I think it's good to encourage parents to let their children like come to them, and you know how parents always have this thing where they're like, I don't want my child to be antisocial. I don't want my child to like,
they must be polite and have manners.
Yeah,
and
they must socialize.
Hug everybody and say hi.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, that's a really, really difficult thing for the kid, especially shy kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like that might be triggering their anxiety or that feeling of being overwhelmed, right? Because it's like forcing them to be in a situation that they don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all not like, not all of us are like love people.
Yeah. So not all of you like are living your best life when you're in a crowd and people are mingling and chatting and having conversation. Like that for you is just like not it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Would you say that you're more of a one-on-one kind of kid? Like that's where you shine, like when you're actually having deep conversation with someone one-on-one?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely enjoy that more. But I also enjoy being seen in a crowd of people because, growing up, I feel like we've gone off track.
That's okay. We can wind our way back. That's what we do.
Find our way back. But I feel like growing up, I always struggled to be seen. I was never
that's real.
At the same time, I was never the center. I never wanted to be the center of attention.
Sure.
Right. But at the same time, I never felt like I even existed in the same world as anybody else.
Okay.
And that can be sort of traced back to a few different things.
Sure.
Right. That we've figured out now.
Yeah.
But
taking us a while, but we got there.
Yeah. But it's that just that feeling of being so like isolated and alone that I think parents like really shouldn't ignore when their child says like if they don't want to be around people or like if they feel like being around people, they just...
Let's just say that louder for the people in the back, because I think no judgment intended, but I think there are some parents who are so worried about what people will think that they don't realize the damage and the impact that is having on their child's psyche. So having the availability to be able to go to your parents and say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, can I go upstairs? And the parent going, take as much time as you need, I'll see you later. Is that what you kind of are leading to? Because I think a lot of parents are more concerned with how people view the family rather than what's happening with their child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Got to have the manners.
Yeah.
Got to be present.
Yes.
Got to come down and say hello to everybody all the time.
Which, like, I don't even think is like a horrible thing.
No.
Right?
No.
Like, I can understand parents wanting their family to be involved.
Sure.
Like, everybody come down, say hi.
Because it makes sense,
show your
right?
face, whatever.
Yeah.
I understand that. But it's like, there's sort of, it's better when the kid like knows that their parent will understand them if they need to remove themselves from the situation.
The parent is safe.
So so like it's like knowing that, because for me, I feel more comfortable coming down, saying hello to everybody, engaging with everybody, being social, when I know that I can remove myself at any point.
Okay.
Right?
And that there's, you're not going to get into trouble for doing that.
I'm not going to get into trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's like, I think family dynamics, you can't say that every family should be acting the exact same way, right?
Sure.
And everybody grows up differently. Everybody has different attitudes and different beliefs and whatever. So it's difficult to say that like going down and showing your face when your mom wants you to is a bad thing, right?
Sure.
It's not.
Yeah.
But it's like if your kid does, because for some people it's not a problem, right? For some kids it's like,
it's fine. Like we're social beings. We'll do it. Yeah.
100%.
Totally.
But I think it's mainly for the people who experience anxiety and are just very shy, don't like to be social,
especially in a social setting. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's more so just like letting those people feel safe,
right,
enough to remove themselves, and
if they need to,
and talk to somebody when they feel like they need to just leave for a few seconds,
Okay.
Because I think it's just, it's definitely, it's just about communication. Everything's about communication all the time.
100%. So
yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question, which is, when you were younger, did you feel safe enough to express your anxiety?
I think it's difficult to say whether I felt safe or whether I just didn't even understand like what I was feeling myself, you know?
Right.
But I think to say I didn't feel safe enough because I'd never heard anybody else speak about it.
Right.
So it's like, so I thought it was.
So we hadn't actually explained to you that anxiety was something that people feel.
Yeah.
And that it was okay to feel that, and that you were allowed to express that.
Yeah.
So would you say that as a kid, you were a kid who needed precise explanation or advice on what was happening? Like you needed specifics. Would you say that?
I think so. I think the thing is we were always allowed to feel nervous. Right?
Yeah.
We were always allowed to feel nervous. We were allowed to say, if we were about to go on stage, you know, you were always very encouraging when I was nervous. You know, you always acknowledged what I was feeling and everything like that. So I feel like being nervous was fine. That was a very normal feeling. But there was that anxiety about something that like people would be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, why do you feel like that? You know, like it's that type of anxiety that nobody would talk about growing up, because I think it's just because it wasn't spoken about that makes you feel unsafe to like bring it up.
Sure.
But then also because nobody talks about it, you don't even know what you're feeling.
And would you say that that feeling of anxiety kind of permeated your entire existence? Like it went from social settings into maybe a classroom setting, into maybe a sports setting, into maybe like, and if it did, like, what were the different coping mechanisms? It's a big question, I know. I think we're going to have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
But like, so we've acknowledged the fact that you suffered from anxiety from a young age. And as your mother, I can definitely say that you were very different to your siblings in the way that you handled yourself, and also really struggled to express your emotions out loud.
Yeah.
Like I remember receiving letters from you on my pillow. Yeah. I remember you whispering in my ear because that was easier. I remember that your way of communication was very, very different to the other 2 siblings. And I remember your dad saying very clearly, why doesn't he like to sit on my lap? Why doesn't he? And I remember saying to Daddy, he's the kid, you have to earn his trust. Like he's a very shy kid and he does love you and he does want to be with you. He just doesn't know how to go about doing it.
Yeah.
And I remember that once Daddy started investing in you and really started kind of singling you out, so to speak, and spending time with you, your relationship changed. So we know that you felt anxious all the time, right? We know that was a feeling that permeated home life, school life, sports life, friendships. How would you say you felt each of those different things? Big question, I know. And then because let's face it was suppressed for a very long time, right? So what were your coping mechanisms? And I'm thinking in terms of maybe what other kids listening to you might be feeling, oh my gosh, that's me too. And parents who are listening can go, oh my gosh, I recognize that in my child. So that's why I'm asking you that question, is to really kind of delve into what were your coping mechanisms and what did it look like for you? Like, and maybe what did it look like for me as your parent, but what did it feel and look like for you across all those different arenas?
Yeah, I think for me, coping, I don't even, it's sort of a fuzzy
memory,
yeah, to remember how I even coped with that. But I think my main thing was copying other people, if that makes sense. Was literally just like mimicking the way everybody else was, so that I didn't feel so isolated.
Right.
And then that was really the whole thing that I did. I just copied everybody else.
Okay.
Because I was like, no way am I going to be an individual and stand out,
Yes.
even though I felt like I did already. But I just copied the way people interacted with each other and the way people were with like people's attitudes, people's beliefs. Like I sort of adapted my own to match theirs.
Right.
To
so you could be accepted and included.
Yeah.
Right.
But also at the same time, I didn't really care too much about being accepted because I already felt so different. I don't know how to explain it, but
You're doing a great job.
But I was literally on a completely different planet to everybody else. Like I was somewhere else. Like I've always been
somewhere else,
completely like separated from everyone, right?
Yes.
So I've never really actually cared about what people thought about me or anything like that because I was too within my own thoughts and within myself to even care.
Would you say that you channeled your anxiety into your academics? Would you, because you achieved quite a lot in junior school, especially and in high school so far, you were quite high achieving academically, and for someone who was so very different and yet covered it all up, would you say that you channeled some of your anxiety into that nervous energy, that sort of competitive streak? Would you say that you channeled that into sport, academics? Could that have been a coping mechanism for you to just kind of get rid of that nervous, anxious energy?
Yeah, I think I didn't channel it the way that I would channel it now.
Yes.
But I definitely channeled it when I was playing tennis. That was the main thing, right?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, my son is a very good tennis player.
Thank you.
It's not just me being biased. He just is. I'm just saying. Carry on.
Thank you. But yeah, I definitely channeled it when I was playing tennis.
Right.
And playing netball as well.
Right.
Those were the two my strongest sports where I felt the most confident in myself.
Right.
And it was like one of the only places that I felt that I could literally just, that I was confident in my ability and in myself and who I was.
Yes.
And my part that I played on the team, right?
Sure, yeah.
But other than that, I never channeled my anxiety properly. I sort of just, I don't know, I kind of just got on with it. Like it was kind of just, it was something that I just lived with and didn't think would really ever go away. You kind of just accept it.
Sure.
And it's there. There's not much you can do about it if you don't know much about it.
Cool. Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. I think as a parent, when I watched you, I felt like people always underestimated you, and always underestimated your ability, and I felt like that was really frustrating for you. But at the same time, you didn't mind not being in the limelight.
Yes, yeah.
But it was really frustrating because I knew that you had the capability, but you weren't yet ready to show people.
Yeah.
So as a parent, when people used to say, oh, shame, poor Tay, and then they would compare you to your sibling, and it would really infuriate me because I knew that you were an anxious child, and I knew that for you, your time would come and you would eventually step up and do the stuff that you really wanted to do. But it would take a lot of time. In fact, it took probably until the last 2.5 years of junior school before you actually stepped up to the plate and went, hi, I'm amazing. Have you seen me?
Yeah.
And which was such a yes moment for me because I was like, oh, you'll see, that's who I'm talking about. So as a parent, it was really hard to kind of deflect all those negative comments from parents who just feel they have the right to judge and give statements on children.
And I was going to say that could also be all of that judgment from other parents could be where the pressure from, like, say you didn't really put pressure on me.
No.
But hypothetically, if you did, that could sort of be where that pressure came from, right? Because it could be like people are actually saying to you, oh, your child's weird.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? You know?
Actually, I know.
Like,
I'm weird too.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. But it's like when you're actually hearing other people talk about your kid, it's gonna get to you.
Yeah.
Right. So as a parent, you're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, can you
not?
Can you not do that? Like, I'm literally trying to live, right?
Yeah. Trying to exist in the world, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's such a complex thing when parents are commenting on other parents' children. It's like, hello?
And
Why?
especially in a negative sense. Like, that always used to blow my mind. Like, it would absolutely blow my mind when people would comment negatively on my kids and think that that was okay with me. Like, that would always blow my mind. And I tried always to be encouraging of kids. I tried always to be encouraging of your friends and especially the sports kids. But I realized that not everybody else thought the same as I did.
Yeah.
And for me, it was incredibly hard watching you navigate that minefield of parents with seemingly good intentions, but stupid negative words. Like, it was just, it was quite a minefield. So that, I mean, that was really, really interesting. But I think we're going to have to come back and do a part 2 because we haven't really scratched the surface of much.
No.
But that beginning, I think, is awesome because for parents out there listening, you may not really know that your kids are suffering with anxiety. And as a mom who has 3 kids who suffer with anxiety, I had to change a lot of how I did life. And a lot of the things that were important to me kind of fell away when I became a champion for my kids. Like, you would think that parents are champions for their kids, but it doesn't always happen that way, does it? Because society sometimes says otherwise. So I just want to encourage parents to please tune in to next time, because Tay will be talking a bit more about his journey with anxiety. And I think there is a lot that you as a parent could learn and a lot that your children could possibly learn. And if your child comes to you after this episode and says, I think this is me, please can I ask you to listen? Please can I ask you to tune in and listen to our other episodes? And please, would you message us and tell us your story? So thank you, Tay. We're going to continue with you in the second podcast of this series. And thank you so much for being so available and open and honest. And thank you very much. And we'll see you again next time.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay, bye.